There's a reason that America feels cursed. From its beginning to its present, this so-called Christian nation has been drenched in blood, greed, and spiritual filth. What we're seeing today, the chaos, division, addiction, violence, it isn't random. It's divine consequence. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, corruption has appeared on land and sea because of what the hands of men have earned, so that he may let them taste part of what they have done, that perhaps they will return. Quran chapter 30 verse 41. America wasn't founded on freedom. It was founded on genocide and hypocrisy. Millions of Native Americans exterminated, their land stolen, their children kidnapped into Christian schools, where they were beaten, raped, and stripped of identity. The same people quoting the Bible used it to justify mass murder. Before the US even called itself a nation, it was burning women alive during the Salem witch trials, projecting its own evil onto others. They screamed about witches while committing acts far darker than any spell. They seek to extinguish the light of Allah with their mouths, but Allah will perfect his light. Quran chapter 61 verse 8. What they call purity was actually paranoia, fear, and hatred, the very foundation of their empire. Then came Mormonism, born into the same soil, mixing Christianity with paganism, polygamy, and blood atonement. These were not fringe movements. They shaped US politics and culture, from Manifest Destiny to God Bless America. The nation began to believe it was chosen by God to dominate others. That's not faith, that's arrogance. The Prophet Muhammad warned, arrogance is rejecting the truth and looking down on people. Sahih Muslim 91. And what's more arrogant than a nation claiming God gave it the right to rule the earth, just like Israel is doing right now, and its people, the chosen ones, the very same people running America. Just look at the culture. The United States produces more serial killers than any other country in history. Over 3,000 known cases. Hollywood glorifies cannibals, serial killers, and demonic acts. It celebrates sin as freedom. Even Netflix has turned human depravity into entertainment. This isn't coincidence. This is a mirror, a reflection of the nation's inner sickness. Then the hearts of those who disbelieved became hardened after that, like stones or even harder. Quran chapter 2 verse 74. The same obsession with horror, violence, and death runs through its politics, its movies, and its streets.
You know, with everything going on right now, you'd almost think that like America was cursed or something, you know? Like it's feeling like it was built on like some ancient Indian burial ground or like, wait a minute.
A growing conversation is taking place across America, and it is making some people extremely uncomfortable because more and more Americans are asking whether a nation can commit historical injustice and simply just move on without any consequences. Can a country build wealth through slavery, through segregation, through discrimination, and even exclusion, and never have a reckon with that history? Is that possible? Guys, talk to me in the comment section if you believe that a country can do all these dirty things, then walk out scot-free without facing any consequences. And if you love this discussion, my people, subscribe to this channel, like, and share this video to as more people as possible.
I don't know if anybody else can see this, but I've always said this to myself, and I've said this to a few people in my family. I think this nation is cursed actively. And you know, we can, you know, I'm getting into the spiritual stuff. I'm getting into my word. I'm becoming a Christ follower. But something in me tells me that this nation, the land that we are sitting on, will never recover. And we can see this, I mean, firsthand. Look at the unrest in our nation. Look how our people have never been okay. Our people have never been at peace with ourselves. Our people have never been in eternal peace with itself. This nation has always been at war, whether it's been at war with another nation, whether it's been at war with ourselves. Since they signed the Declaration of Independence, we have seen some sort of resistance or violence attached to the name of this nation. This nation cannot rest, and it will not rest. You can't acquire a nation the way we acquired it and not expect to feel something, right? They always tell us, right? These sayings that transcend our generations, they even transcend some of our bloodlines, right? When you think of what goes around comes around, karma's gonna come get you, karma's a bitch, right? Like why are all these karmic sayings always in rotation, right? Why are all these spiritual sayings of basically whatever you do is going to come back, and you are going to reap what you sow, right? And this is just, these are all saying the same thing. Bad deeds do not go unchecked. Bad behavior does not go unchecked. The people in this nation will never be at peace internally because of what happened on this soil, on this land has not been addressed. And people think that, okay, well, I can do something bad and I just die and it'll just go away. Your family lives with that. Your ancestors live with that. We're seeing that today. They are living with this unrest inside of them. This is why this nation has always been at war. 11 wars. 11 wars. How much blood do you think this nation has shed? We've dropped 2 nuclear bombs. We're the only nation that has used nuclear weapons. This nation is violence. All that violence, all that bloodshed, all them tragedies these dudes thought they could do to these people on this land. Whether it was the Native Americans first, then move over to chattel slavery, right? The transatlantic slave trade. Then we still got the Mexican-American War. These people were fighting everybody in proximity. It's proximity with this nation. This nation will kill if it could. This nation has a violent tendencies, has violence in the spirit. There's unrest in the spirit, and it will not go away until there is acknowledgement and there is atonement. We don't know how these spiritual things work. That's the cool part. We don't know how they work. I'm just simply observing how this system works. I don't know how it works, though. The inner workings, that's for God to know, right? Or the creator, or whatever you believe in. But whoever you believe in, whatever I believe in, are most likely the same person or thing or being. And they are not going to let this nation roll around in money before it has to roll around in its filth. And that's what this nation is doing. It's going to take people to understand that even though they weren't the ones who did it, someone's going to have to step up and take the bullet for this one. So, they have not talked about anything that has happened on this soil. All they care about is money, 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 money. This nation is destined to fall.
People argue that many of the Americans' current struggles are connected to the unresolved issues from its past. And that is where today's debate now begins. And of course, if you love this topic, please grab your coffee, sit down, relax, as I dispense this knowledge unto you. America has long described itself as a land of freedom and a land of milk and honey, a land of opportunities, the land where anyone can achieve success through hard work. Yet, at the same time, America spent centuries denying freedom and opportunity to millions of people. Talk about enslaved Africans who helped build country's economy. After slavery ended, many black Americans faced other struggles. They faced segregation, they faced discrimination, disenfranchisement, and later they went through lynching. These contradictions remain one of the most discussed parts of American history. So, how could a nation founded on liberty deny liberty to so many people? Now, let's dive deep into this conversation. And of course, if you're watching me for the first time, I repeat, subscribe. And let's dive straight, watch some clips here, then I'll be back with my reaction.
Not only is America not a Christian nation, but according to this American lawyer and theologian, it's a demonic nation. Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Colton. I grew up a Pentecostal pastor's kid, went to school to get degrees in historical Christian theology, and I don't think January 6th is anywhere close to one of the worst things that's happened in American history. But it is a particularly good illustration of what this video is about. We saw an enraged mob of violent Christian nationalists carry American flags and Jesus Save banners into the Capitol during an attempted coup. And in the aftermath, I remember seeing one pastor say that this was a revival, not a riot. I saw another pastor say that the insurrection was comparable to the walls of Jericho falling down. That's how they viewed it. And more than a few Christians defended it as the hand of God moving through patriots. There was this guy named William Stringfellow who was a civil rights attorney, an activist, and a theologian who lived in Harlem during the 1960s. He wrote this book called An Ethic for Christians and Other Aliens in a Strange Land. Stringfellow used the language from Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12 to talk about America being the demonic principality of the power of death. In this passage, someone, purportedly Paul, although that's hotly contested by the scholarship, says that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And in context, this is essentially naming the unseen forces that work through empires and institutions and ideologies. Not just like metaphors, but Stringfellow actually took this seriously. For him, these powers and principalities are the spiritual and institutional realities that shape human life, and often without our awareness. Stringfellow didn't think that demonic principalities came wearing horns and red capes, but they came dressed in flags and standing in pulpits, using the language of freedom, family, and faith. He saw them as real forces that were spiritual, systemic, and seductive. He saw them operating as governments, corporations, and even churches. Really, any institution that takes on life of its own and demands allegiance, resists accountability, and functions to preserve its own survival at the expense of truth. Stringfellow said that these forces aren't always obviously evil, that they pretend to be good because they disguise themselves as righteous and they speak in the name of God while dealing in death. Put simply, he saw America as a principality pretending to be God. For Stringfellow, this is why so many churches have lost the capacity to tell the truth. And this is why Christians defend war as holy or see billionaires as blessed, use law and order language like it's sacred, but then mock mercy. No wonder so many churches have prioritized the idea of personal salvation. It allows you to ignore systemic sin, and you start to see flags treated with more reverence than the cross. Stringfellow believed that when the church endorses or baptizes empire, that what it's doing is worshiping death, because the one thing that the powers always wield is death. Not just physical death, but spiritual death, the death of imagination, the death of empathy. It's kind of funny that we're seeing so much language come up today from American evangelicals talking about toxic empathy. Crazy. Stringfellow says that this is the death that comes when you no longer believe anything can change. And so you give yourself over to the way that things are. And he says that this is how the powers win, not by making you serve them consciously, but by making you believe they're inevitable. And he says that they do this strategically, and he actually outlines 8 strategies that the powers use to sustain their influence and subdue their conscience. For time purposes, I can only cover probably 3. One of these strategies is the denial of truth. He says that the powers lie blatantly and systemically, that they distort the facts and suppress evidence to amain the illusion of righteousness. And I think you can see this clearly in the way that American institutions dismiss or minimize the climate crisis, even when the scientific consensus is clear, or in a way that somebody might claim an election was stolen with no credible proof, using the lie to justify further authoritarian responses. Or even how they erase the human toll of immigration policies by not acknowledging the deaths or the trauma caused by detentions, deportations, and border enforcement. Another strategy he outlines is what he calls doublespeak and overtalk in the Orwellian sense. And he's not just talking about lying here. Here he's talking about drowning the truth in euphemism and noise. So think about the way that we use terms like enhanced interrogation to mean torture, or collateral damage to mean dead civilians. Pundits and politicians will often flood the discourse with slogans like law and order, things that obscure who's actually making the laws and whose order is being preserved in the first place. And I think that when the language is corrupted, so is the conscience. Then there's surveillance and harassment. Stringfellow says that powers protect themselves by targeting dissent. And you can see this in the way that law enforcement agencies are starting to track protesters with facial recognition, or even as quietly as IRS audits and donor blacklists for faith leaders who challenge Christian nationalism. That's happening. Keep in mind, this was written in the 1970s, the early 70s. He talks about journalists facing threats for exposing state or corporate wrongdoing, and clergy who speak out being dismissed as, just political or divisive or even unpatriotic. The goal here isn't just to punish, it's to intimidate, to discourage anyone else from stepping out of line. And this is why Stringfellow didn't just call the church to critique the state. He was actually calling the church to exorcise the state, to name the idols clearly, and to unmask the spiritual lies that are there beneath the political power. Stringfellow was begging the church to refuse to worship at the altars of relevance, respectability, and return on investment. And in a world where even the church can become possessed by the spirit of empire, Stringfellow believed that the only faithful church is the one that looks like Christ, poor, despised, and truth-telling, willing to die rather than to kill.
Okay, y'all. Don't mind my how he made it look. I got whatever. But I was just scrolling down Facebook Reels, and I saw this little girl saying about the trips, like girls go on trips and don't come back as friends, and she said it was about money. It's way deeper than that, baby. It's way deeper than that. And she was talking about specifically Miami. Miami carries a deep, deep demonic spirit around it. The people that are nasty and evil, that place is so evil. That's why when people go there, usually you get drunk to go have fun. When you get drunk, you allow spirits in your body. And the spirits out there are so demonic. So demonic. I'm dead serious. That's why people go out there and get into arguments and stuff like that. I forgot where I was, and I got into it with my friends. I forgot where I was, but it was demonic energy. Especially with the drinking and smoking and the kicking and the party. It's not all about money. Because everybody I went with had money. It wasn't about that. It's the spirits that's lingering around just waiting for you to take that sip out that drink. And especially like weak vessels, you ain't even got to drink. If you got a weak vessel, that spirit will go right inside of you and use you. It does it to people, families, and everything. Like y'all kids. That's why y'all kids start acting up, and it's the spirits that's inside them. If they can't get to you, they're gonna go to anybody around you. Just trying to kick some wisdom.
I'm so mad at my country right now. Why did you think that this was the person that was going to make things better in this country? You can't hate into harmony. Why is everybody so scared of equality? Why is everybody so scared of people that look differently than them, and that think differently than them, and that live differently than them? Why in 2025 are people battling just for the right to exist in peace without people bothering them or trying to oppress them or hating them or harming them? Why can't we use our money and our resources and our time and our energy to build people up, to build up our neighborhoods, to invest into communities that are struggling? Why can't we finally put all of our energy and our resources into positively contributing to society and making the world that we live in a better place? Why can't we just fucking accept each other? Why are people still so susceptible to listening to just hatred, just pure hatefulness, and that being the thing that they're moved by? Why does that move you? Why doesn't love move you? Why doesn't kindness and generosity move you? It's like every single time there's a group of people fighting for their rights in this country, the whole world just explodes in fear and fear-mongering, and it works. And why can't we learn from our history? Why can't we recognize that the same thing seems to happen over and over again? Why are we stuck in a continuous loop of fear and oppression, and fear and oppression, and having to fight fear and oppression? Why can't people in power, with money, whatever, give it up? Just go live your lives. Pay attention to yourself. Enjoy all of the resources and privilege that you have and be in peace. Why are you so fucking angry? Why are you so controlling? Why are you so in everybody's business? There's absolutely no need. You are better equipped than anybody on the planet to go live your life in peace. So why don't you just do that? All of us are going to die someday. Everybody who's trying to hoard and accumulate all of this wealth and this power or whatever, this fake shit, you're not going to get to keep that. You're going to be gone someday, and who knows when that day is. So why are you chasing it to the point that you're willing to harm others to get it and to keep it? What is going on? Release that. Why can't we just take care of each other? Why is that so hard? Why is that so seemingly impossible for this world? Or I'll just speak for the US. Why is that so hard for us? It should be the most natural thing in the world to understand that if my neighbor is doing well, that's a good thing for me. I'm exhausted by every single headline that just goes against everything in my soul that I believe about life. It's just painful. It is painful, and it is depressing and so sad. And I wish that things were different. To anybody watching, I hope you're okay.
Alright, one thing about living in Ohio you will learn is if you live here for a certain time period or if you're born here, it's damn near impossible to leave. I've moved out of Ohio at least 10 times over my entire lifetime, and each time I ended up moving back to Ohio. I currently live in Ohio again. I just came to the point where I just accepted my fate, and my girlfriend wants to leave Ohio, and I already know the same shit's gonna happen. We're gonna leave Ohio again and end up coming back not long after. Instead of arguing my point, I'm just gonna prove my point by moving out of Ohio again for the umpteenth time, just to come back, just to show it's fucking impossible to leave here even if you want to. Because when you do move, you'll realize, oh shit, Ohio really isn't that bad. Literally the same things I'm doing in Ohio, I am doing here, and paying 10 times more. For being in the top 10 biggest states, it's surprisingly fairly affordable out here. I can't complain, I love living out here. But I will fucking say, I don't want snow. It's too fucking early for this shit.
Many people looking at Americans' challenges today see a connection between past actions and the present problems by connecting just the dots. Actions like economic inequality, political division, social tension, distrust of institutions, and some believe that these problems cannot be separated from history. And when injustice is never fully addressed, its effect can linger for generations to come. Not because of magic, my people, but because of superstition and because actions have consequences. And, societies often inherit the results of decisions that are made long ago by their own ancestors. And America did that. Many Black Americans have pointed out that they spent decades warning the country about inequality, about discrimination, and even social division. Some even argue that concerns that were once dismissed are now being recognized by the wider audience in that country. Others say that America is finally confronting realities that Black communities have discussed with them for generations. So, whether people agree or disagree, these conversations are forcing many Americans to re-examine history in ways that they never did before. And for some people, the discussion goes beyond politics and economics. It becomes spiritual now, because many religious believers point to the biblical teaching that emphasizing justice, compassion, and even accountability. And it is obvious that people must face consequences when they mistreat vulnerable people. And regardless of your viewpoint, history matters, my people. And unresolved injustice can leave lasting effects on a nation if not well discussed. So, the most important question is not whether America is cursed. The real question is whether any nation can fully prosper while ignoring parts of its own history. Can healing occur without acknowledgement? Can unity exist without honesty? And can progress even happen without understanding the past? I believe we must face the past first, then frame a good future. And these are the real questions that are driving this debate today. And of course, if you're enjoying this conversation, subscribe. Americans are having deeper conversations about their history, about their race, and justice than they have had for decades. And whether people approach these issues through faith, history, politics, or even personal feelings or experiences, the past continues to shape the present. Americans' current challenges are connected to unresolved historical injustices. Guys, that's my take. Do you think Americans' current challenges or problems are interconnected with its history, with its dirty past? Leave your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share.